Hello everybody, welcome to my March reading vlog. To start off my month as usual, I am reading a book off of my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, and this month I am reading And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I'm only 1/3 of the way in so far, and I'm pretty confused, but you will hear more about that in that vlog. And I believe I have figured out the audiobook that I will be listening to this month, that being, I believe it's called Covet. It is the third book in the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. It is these terrible Twilight knockoff books about this girl who goes to a academy in Alaska, and she's dating a vampire, and she has like a dragon best friend and a witch best friend, but also she's like dating the vampire's brother who like lives in her head or something. It's all very, very wild, so I'm going to be reading the third book in that series. I will be listening to it. It is a 21-hour audiobook, but luckily I speed it up. So I will be listening to it throughout the month as I do my various tasks around the house and out in the world. That is my update for now. Alright, a mini update. I finished And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and I ended up giving it 2 stars. I am just under halfway through Covet by Tracy Wolff. It is a lot to get through, and it is very boring, but it is at least better than the previous 2 so far. I like the shift in the relationships between the characters better. And a few days ago, I went to Chapters and completed the entire book Fangs by Sarah Andersen during my visit. It is a small book featuring little comic panels of a vampire and a werewolf boy falling in love. It was very, very cute, but I had seen multiple strips of the comic online, so I did know a lot of the little panels, but it was just a very sweet compilation, and the book itself is gorgeous. It has this really nice, hard, red cover. It's really, really cute. I didn't end up buying it because I read the entire thing in store and I saw a lot of it online anyway, but it was a very, very enjoyable read, and I do recommend it for people who are interested in that sort of thing. And now I am currently reading a book titled In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. It is a YA story about a prince going on his coming-of-age tour and meeting a young boy on an abandoned ship, and just the plot revolves around that so far. I'm only about 50 pages into it. My friend and I are buddy reading it because it just seemed like a very cute idea, and so far, no complaints. So that is my update for now. Update time. Here to say that I have finished In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens, and I am ending up giving the book 3 stars. I am going to warn people right off the bat that this book is not a pirate story. It was marketed as The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue meets Pirates of the Caribbean, and it is not. Yes, they are on a ship briefly for the main character's coming-of-age tour, but they quickly get not on the ship anymore. It is more a story of the main character struggling with his magical abilities and what it means for his royal family and the kingdom that he lives in, and the political intrigue of his sister getting married to somebody from a faraway land who's possibly going to attack, and his love interest is this scrappy little guy who's, you know, mysterious and secretive and always running off places. So it's more their dynamic amongst political intrigue instead of a story about pirates. And I know a lot of people were disappointed by that fact. There was a lot of Goodreads reviews that are just, this was disappointing because it wasn't the thing I imagined in my head. Then don't. And I'm like 87% of the way through Covet by Tracy Wolff. They're in like a paranormal prison or something. They've only been there for 6 days and they're already like escaping or something. They're fighting giants or something. I don't know. It's like the weirdest thing I've ever encountered and had put in my ears. It's just playing in the background of what I'm doing on most days. Like, there's very high stakes, don't get me wrong, but I just don't care. And these are just books to listen to while I do menial tasks. So that's my update for now. Check out what I read next.
Make sure to get Hot Wheels.
Oh my god.
Hello. So I finished Covet by Tracy Wolff. I'm only giving that 2 stars. That had a lot of convoluted plot bullshit happening. They went to graduation, they went to jail for 6 days and came out. One of the characters lost a leg, and it was really gory and gross, so be careful if you want to read these books, because I was trying to eat lunch and it was disgusting. And there was just a lot going on, and it's just a little boring, but it is another book series to read. It's another vampire new adult series, and I want to sort of keep track of all of those. So at least that one's done. I still have the next one to read, and the audiobook for that one is not 21 hours, it's 24! So yay! So with that out of the way, I am now starting a new vampire YA book called The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa. So far, it was a human girl living in a post-apocalyptic vampire world. She was living with a bunch of boys and trying to scavenge for food. And she just got attacked by basically a zombie vampire. I hate when there's 2 breeds of vampires and one's a zombie and one's a human. Stupid. Anyway, she just had the choice of whether she wanted to die or become a vampire. So that was in the first 80 pages. So that's my update for now. Alrighty. Earlier today, I finished The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa, and I only ended up giving it 2 stars. The premise of the novel was really cool. It's a post-apocalyptic world where vampires are the first-class citizens and humans are second-class. And then there's also these vampire zombies called rabbits, and they're running around. And this female protagonist named Andersen is trying to survive with a group of humans, but then she is bitten by a vampire and is forced to face the fact that she is now the thing that she has always hated. So that's a really cool premise, and I liked the first part where she was learning how to be a vampire with her vampire maker. But then the rest of the novel happens where her vampire maker has disappeared and she's forced to go out on her own, and she meets this group of human survivors, and the human survivors really reminded me of the cast of characters from The Host. There was even the old religious leader named Jeb, Jebediah. And then the rest of the novel is pretty conventional for the YA dystopian genre. You've got the boy she has a crush on, and of course a girl who hates her. That's my favorite part of these books, when they'd have a little fight between a girl and another girl, and it was just catty. It's great. So the book in itself isn't terrible if you are into YA dystopian fiction with vampires in it. That's a very, very cool idea. It just didn't work for me personally. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be reading next, but I do have a few books saved in my library account that I should really get to and, get them off my Goodreads list. So I think that's what I'll be choosing next. Can you hear the birds? It's actually really nice out today. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day. So I've started a new book. It is called The Amber Fury by Natalie Haynes. Natalie Haynes is an author that I have read a few books from. Most importantly, 1,000 Ships is her newest book. She writes mainly on Greek myth, and this book that I am currently reading was her first novel. It is about a teacher who goes to Edinburgh to teach a group of problem students, and she ends up teaching them Greek tragedy, and she ends up connecting with her students, but then something bad happens because the framing device of the story is she's telling the police something. I don't know what it is yet. So far, it is pretty good. I'm not overly bombarded by weird positivity. You know those genres of movies where a teacher is helping a group of problem students and it's all cliche and annoying? So far, it's pretty naturally written, and I am pretty compelled by it. I'm not that bored of it, so I'm looking forward to see what happens, if there's a twist that takes me out of it completely or keeps me more heavily engaged. I also finally got a copy of Down the Rabbit Hole by Holly Madison, which is a book I was gushing about a few months ago. I listened to the audiobook that she narrates herself, and now I finally have a copy with all the photographs inside. So I'm very happy to finally own a copy of this book. It is one of my favorite books, one of my favorite memoirs, and it has inspired me to actually look up other celebrity memoirs, which I will be listening to later this year. So that's my update for now. I think I'm going to go for a walk and enjoy this beautiful day. I might even drop off some books I've been planning to unhaul into one of my neighborhood library shelves. Stay tuned. Hello again. Yes, same me, same spot. My latest update is telling you that I have finished The Amber Fury by Natalie Haynes, and I'm going to give it 3 stars. It was alright for what it was. I sort of guessed what the great tragedy was going to be in the novel, but as it says in Greek tragedy, you really do already know what's gonna happen when the story begins, so that wasn't a big issue for me. I just thought it was a little bit dull, didn't capture my attention as it did in the beginning, and it wasn't ultimately that satisfying, but it's totally fine for what it was. And I have started another book from my library account. I have the title right here so I can read it to you. It's called The Tales of Nosferatu, short stories showcasing the evolution of the vampire legend. Now, one thing that I enjoy about library accounts like this is that I can access the weirdest things. So far, this book has no author, no editor, no foreword, and no afterword. So it is literally just a bunch of short stories by people, all collected into one file. They don't even tell me the year that the story was published or any backstory behind it. So, out of the 3 short stories that I have read so far out of 15, I've had to do my own research about who the author was, what the story is, why it's in this book showcasing the evolution of vampire stories, and my research has been more interesting than the stories themselves. So far, this book is a little bit iffy, but, you know, I'm going to finish it because it's such a funny find that I found in my library account. I literally looked through the genre of vampire and found this, and there's only like 2 ratings on Goodreads. I'm gonna have to see if there's an actual proper copy that I'm going to do my review on. This thing is just weird, and it really seems like it needed an editor or a collector or someone to write about these stories and explain why they're important to the vampire genre, you know? You coming to bother me because you're hungry? Alright. I have to feed the boys, so that's my update for now. I will let you know how the rest of these vampire short stories are, and see how I finish out my month. Hello! Do you want to see my new Batman shirt? So I finished the Tales of Nosferatu vampire short story collection. I'm only giving that one 2 stars because I felt that it was sort of a waste of my time. I didn't find a vampire story that I liked in it, and it was just all jumbled together, no chronological order, no theme, no discussion, no analysis, not even the year that the story was published. So I was completely blind with just this huge pile of text, and I was not engaged with it. I didn't find a story that I enjoyed or can even recommend, so that was just a very weird moment in my reading month. And I have had a very busy couple of days. I am about to have busier days coming up, so what am I going to do now when the house is empty? I'm going to be reading this Bela Lugosi as Dracula comic, and I'm going to light a candle and relax and read. Okay, here we are at the March 2022 wrap-up. So this month, I managed to read 8 books. So let's get through these. The first book I read was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, and I only ended up giving that 2 stars. While the gimmick of the book and some of the tension in the book was really solid, I thought the characters were too bland. There wasn't really a central one we followed. It wasn't very compelling, and I just can't get over the racial aspects of the novel. Even though they tried to wipe all of it away, I still know that original title. So yes, for what it was and of its time, it is a very good mystery, but now I can't see it as anything other than Saw, like a proto-Saw. So that was disappointing for me personally, and I don't think I will check out any of her other works. I then listened to Covet by Tracy Wolff, which is the 3rd book in the Crave series. It's about like a supernatural boarding school, and the main character is dating vampire brothers. It's a whole thing. They were in jail in this one. It was insane. Everything got resolved in one book. They set up 4 different plot points that I started to lose track of because they all have different like MacGuffin names, and I couldn't figure out who had what they needed to get to what, how to get out of jail, how to get like a giant to give them like a butterfly tattoo or something. I don't know. It was a huge mess. So I'm only giving that one 2 stars. I then read the graphic novel Fangs by Sarah Andersen. You've probably seen her work a lot online. She does those like Sarah Scribbles, those cute little like cartoons. This graphic novel was about a werewolf boy and a vampire girl falling in love, and it was very episodical. It was very just 1 or 2 panels of a little situation that they were going through. There wasn't a lot of plot. The art is beautiful, the cover is beautiful, so you should definitely check that out if you're interested. I ended up giving that one 3 stars. I really did like it, but I just didn't purchase it because I read the entire thing during a chapter's visit. It's very short. I then read In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. It is a YA story about a boy who's going on his coming-of-age tour. He's like a prince who has magic, and he ends up meeting this beautiful boy stranger, and they end up getting kidnapped or lost, and they find each other multiple times. It's very adorable and very sweet. The cover is just intensely gorgeous, but the story wasn't what I expected it to be. I wanted more of a pirate thing going on, and that's not what ended up happening. But in itself, it is a very sweet, adorable story. It's just fine for me, so I gave it 3 stars. I then read The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa, and I ended up giving this one 2 stars as well. Interesting premise. It's dystopian fiction, but with vampires in it, so that's really cool. But it's just very typical of the genre. It had all of the conventions that I hate in YA, especially YA dystopia. I tried it, I didn't like it, I am not going to continue the series. I then read The Amber Fury by Natalie Haynes. She has been an author who's been writing a lot of Greek myth retellings from female perspectives. This was her first novel. It was about a girl going to teach in Edinburgh. She teaches a group of problem students. She ends up teaching them Greek tragedy, and then Greek tragedy basically happens to them. I sort of guessed what was going to happen halfway through the novel, but the thing about Greek tragedy is that you know it's coming. It's like the lesson of the book. It spells it all out for you. So it's not that cheap of an ending. It's expected, you know it's coming, and it just didn't hit as hard as it should have for me, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. I'm ending up giving it 3 stars. I then read that weird short story collection, The Tales of Nosferatu, with no author. It's just by various, and it is literally just a group of short story texts compiled into a book with no forward, afterward, editor, essays, anything, no discussion, no theme, not even the year that they were published. So there is a lot of cool things that I got to research, like why this was put into the book in the first place. By the end, no idea why those little parts of stories were compiled. There were script moments, like scenes, narration from films. I don't know if that's legal or not. They could be in public domain, but I have no idea. So that was a very, very weird find that I found on my library account, and I'm giving that one just 2 stars. And the final book that I read this month was Dracula starring Bela Lugosi. This is an officially licensed by the Lugosi family graphic novel where it is the entire plot of Dracula, like book accurate Dracula, if Bela Lugosi played the monster himself. The art is extremely beautiful. It was a very, very good adaptation of Dracula. It laid out everything properly, and I really liked it. It's not as good, in my opinion, as this Dracula adaptation right here, which has a cooler art style and more color and stuff, but that one I did read first, and so I'm comparing it to this one, of course. Obviously, that one is getting 5 stars. So that's it. That was my month this month. It was a very busy reading month, and I read a lot of vampire books, but surprisingly I still have so many more that I'm going to read, and I have an enormous TBR now. It's up to like 42 books, so look forward to the rest of my reading vlogs this year because I have quite a bit going on. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next month. Bye bye!